Choices. We all make them, ain't that right, Jerry? Exactly. Every day we make choices. Whether it be what to eat for dinner, what to wear in the morning, how to impress that girl in school who clearly wants nothing to do with you. But the closest we can get to replicating these choices in a story is through video games. You got your good endings, bad endings, and everything in between. But one of the games that I think has the best choices is... Yeah, we need to get that looked at, Jerry. The Witcher franchise is notorious for having great storytelling and compelling characters. But I haven't played the first two games yet, so I'm gonna just talk about the third one here. The Witcher 3 might have the most compelling story of any video game ever. And I believe that's because of how it approaches the choices you make in the game. In order to show you how insane this system is, we need to break down how games usually approach this. What you usually see in games that advertise the system is two paths, really. Good or bad. Sometimes they'll even put in a third option, that's usually the neutral route. As the game goes on, you'll be given choices that progress you in either direction. You'll have your morality bar, and depending on the choices you make, it'll lean to the left or right, the good or the bad. This isn't a terrible system, and games I love like Red Dead 2 even have this system, but it usually just gives the illusion of choice. Let me explain. In these games, they usually offer two skill trees that give you good or evil abilities. So what usually happens is that the player will either make one good or one bad choice in the beginning, and then from there, they just kind of stay in the lane that they chose and continue progressing in that skill tree because it would just be more work to switch to the other side and be weaker. There might as well be an option to be good or bad from the main menu. There isn't a lot of incentive to debate your choices after the initial few. Therefore, it doesn't really feel like a real choice. This is where The Witcher shines. The synopsis of the story in The Witcher is honestly pretty basic. You're trying to find your daughter Ciri before the Wild Hunt can find her and exploit her powers. That isn't a very difficult concept to grasp when you start playing, but what makes the story so compelling is the characters, and again, the choices you have to make with those characters along the way. The whole game, you have a simple destination and goal, but the things you have to do to get there are so shockingly complex and take so many twists and turns, and I just... Let's start with the sheer amount of choices you can make in the game. There's a lot. Every main quest you have to make a choice. Every side quest you have to make a choice. Every conversation you have to make a choice. Every 2 seconds a villager is calling you over asking for help or trying to sell you something or threatening you. This does wonders for the immersion. And another thing that helps with that is the variety of choices you have to make and the varying impacts they have on the story. You're going to be making choices that have immediate consequences on the story and choices that you won't know the effects of until hours later, or you may not even learn of them at all. You're going to be choosing what type of play you want to act out in front of the audience and also deciding the literal fate of your loved ones. Your choices will affect townsfolk and the towns themselves. They'll also determine whether or not you got that Gwent card you've been wanting. This makes everything feel so real because not every choice is going to decide the fate of the world, and there's still a lot of choices that do. But what I really wanted to talk about, and the main determining factor that separates this game from the others, is how it tackles morality. The world of The Witcher is never just black and white. Rather, it's almost always in shades of gray. This is fitting for a game about Geralt, our main character, because he exists in a perpetual gray area. Compare this to the good and bad games that only exist in black and white and rarely ever give your decisions urgency. In The Witcher, I literally have to sit there for 5 minutes to make any decision in this game. It's never clear about what the outcomes of his choices will be, and I love that. It's just as easy to pick any outcome over a different one. This isn't the game telling you, ha, you chose the bad ending because you weren't paying attention to the conversation. Rather, it's giving you an incentive to debate your choices. There isn't a good or bad skill tree. You aren't rewarded with good or evil abilities. Every player has an equal opportunity to make the same decisions, but they usually don't. You could be making a decision with the best intentions, but still have characters die or have people hate you just the same. Every character has both black and white in them. including you. By the end of the game, you can see yourself reflected in the choices you made, because it made you care and respect its world and characters. You had to think through all of your choices, and a lot of those choices were hard to make. This deepens that connection between game and player so much. I'm not lying when I tell you that by the end of the game, it had revealed things about myself I didn't know at the beginning. It's such a good example of how revolutionary video games are for storytelling. It puts you in the driver's seat, truly. It makes you second guess and overthink everything, just like how you overthink what video to watch while you eat breakfast. That's how you make a video game. Right?